coming up on this episode of the Spiro Podcast.
But sometimes when bad things happen, we just want to crawl into a hole. That's kind of what the first instinct is. Like, oh, something bad happened. I don't even want to talk to the person. I just want to be sad that something happened.
Welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. With your hosts, Todd Kivimaki and Craig Magrum.
Hi, and welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. Spiro is a software platform. It's designed to help you manage your day-to-day business and really help you scale as well, whether you're just starting out in real estate photography or if you've grown a business to serving multiple regions. It can scale with you and help you continue to scale your business. I'm Craig Magrum, host of the podcast. Welcome to it each and every week. Our founder and owner of Spiro and co-host of the podcast, Todd Kivimaki. Welcome back to another week, Todd.
Craig, it's great to be back. I have an overabundance of energy for some reason this morning. I don't even have all of my coffee down. So I'm just going to apologize right now. I'm already running through my head. Think, talk slow, Todd, but let's just see what you get from me, y'all. I'm apologizing in advance.
I'm there with you. I was up at 4:15 this morning. I hit my jiu-jitsu class at 6 a.m.
Oh,
I
nice.
had my Celsius. So yeah, I'm rearing to go.
Ready to go. And it's just overcast, rainy, foggy here today. But man, I know you Seattle people and you UK, you're like, it's like that every day. But
right.
Anyways, we've got a great topic today, Craig. Excited about that.
It's a great topic, and it's going to be a personally painful topic for me. We're going to make some admissions, but we'll talk about how you can make the best of those things as well. And I know we're being cryptic. So before we introduce the topic and I go into my self-flagellation and confessional box as an ex-Catholic here, I'm going to be confessing things. Let's talk about Spiro and some of the updates. I've been watching social media, Todd, on the publication of some of these updates for Spiro, and it's exciting, and we're seeing some great responses. People excited about what's happening. So, what's going on this week?
Yeah, the quick rundown, and I'll make it quick. We are looking to an update for the beginning of March. First week of March is what we are shooting for right now. Give us a plus or minus of a week on that. And some fun things. So one of the items is landing pages for your order pages. So this would be a collection of order pages where you can link it to your Book Now button on your website, and then your clients will be able to select from your residential, your commercial, your short-term rental order pages, headshots, whatever you do. And it'll be a nice landing page for them to go from to pick the most appropriate order page. We are also looking to refresh some of the e-commerce aspects. So I'm super excited about that. If you want to find out more about that in the Spiro Super User Facebook group, I give a little more information on that. Moving into a couple of other updates we're working on. There's always various UI and UX fixes, but one update I want to mention is the feedback update. So it's very important to us all as business owners at our real estate media company too. We want to know how we're doing. At our company, we just sent a survey to our employees. We surveyed our photographers. We surveyed our clients. We want to know how we're doing. And also, one thing that's connected with that is feedback on platforms. Google is fabulous for us. Facebook is fabulous for us. Heck, I don't even know how much we even really need a website anymore because people just search you and they look at reviews. So we are going to put in a mechanism where you can collect feedback after the shoot, and you can ask them, how are we doing? 1 through 5 stars. If it's 1 or 2 or 3 stars, say you're not happy with that, send them to a page that says, hey, let's get in contact. We want to make this right. Say it's 5 stars. They're happy. Everything went fabulous. Great. Let's ask them to leave that review on Google or Facebook or any platform you choose. So excited about this. We have some other things queued up as well, but those are some ones that I'm like, wow, like I'm excited to use them in our real estate media company. So I wanted to let you know about them. We'll give you a little more insight on future podcasts as to what's coming up. And like I mentioned, we're looking at the first week of March to bring that to y'all.
Fantastic. Exciting stuff.
Yeah. And just a selfless pitch here. If you are thinking about switching, now is really probably the best time of the year. We have a ton of people, and this is going to sound conceited. I'm not trying to boast, but we have a ton of people switching in right now, spinning up Spiro software systems. We have a team here to help you. We have a free setup process with a pre-buy. We have a team that will do that for you. So if you're interested, I don't ask you guys this a lot. I'm just going to flat out ask you, if you are thinking about switching, we would love to be your platform. We have some incredible things coming up in 2025, and we have a team here for you to make it easy. So you can chat in with us, ask us about the free setup. If you want a demo, Nick on our team does demos every Wednesday, or he'll do a personal demo with you. So just ask us. We'll be happy to give you everything we can and make the switch easy for you.
Absolutely. Nick is a great guy. If you get a chance to talk, I was down in the office yesterday. I'm normally not down there because I take care of one of our northern regions, but ran into Nick there at the office and caught up with him. And he's just a fantastic guy. You'll enjoy working with him if you haven't yet, guys. Yeah. All right. Before we dive into the topic, I'm just putting the topic off, Todd. Because
that's okay. I already know what it is.
I want to do. Yeah, I know. I'm putting it off. Anyway, I had an idea and I ran this by Todd, and Todd said, yeah, let's do this. So I've done a lot of reading over my life. I love to read and I love to be constantly learning new things. And over the years, I've collected a book collection, Todd, that has gotten extensive. I've already purged it once before, but now I'm running out of room on my shelves once again because of the plethora. I like the word plethora. Did you ever see, this is a squirrel moment, did you ever see the movie The Three Amigos? With,
yes.
Chevy and Steve Martin and is that, who was the third one? Dana Martin?
I think you're right. Yeah.
They used the word plethora as in a plethora of piñatas. So anyway, I have a plethora of books that I would love to pass on because I want to see somebody else get some value out of these. And it's a lot of books on leadership. And since we're talking to business owners, whether, again, you're just starting or you've been in it for a little while, I'd like to give away some of my books on leadership that I've read and learned things from. There might be some notes or highlights in some of these books of things that jumped out to me, but I'd like to share the knowledge. And so I think once a week for however long I have books for, we'd like to give a book to you free of charge. I'll ship it to you. You don't have to worry about shipping. And just pass this on. So Todd, how would we like to do this?
So if you're interested in the plethora of books from the Craig Magrum book collection, he's holding up John Maxwell, the 16
Undeniable Laws of Communication. This will be the first book I give away. Apply them and make the most of your message. And messaging is important as an owner and communicator.
It is. And if you want this, you need to message us inside of Spiro. So log into your Spiro platform, click the pink chat bubble. All right. Mm-hmm. So log into Spiro, not the Spiro website, but the platform. Click the pink chat bubble. And what we're going to do this week is the first person who messages us. So we'll look at the timestamp and tell us you want the book and then give us a podcast idea to discuss here. A question you might have. It doesn't have to be outrageous. Just what are you working on this year? What do you want to know more about? Message us. The customer support team will take that, and then we will let you know if you won, and we'll get your address, and we will ship it to you.
Yeah. Yep. Just want to share the wealth here. Share the knowledge.
I love that, Craig. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. I've got some really good books back here that I've just really enjoyed reading. So I hope you will enjoy them as well. All right. Are we ready?
We're ready.
I don't know if I'm ready. All right.
Well, you want me to set this one up, Craig?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me set this one up because this is
Thank you.
there's a lot of learning points here, and I think that at the end of the day, the learning point is when things happen, it's not the end of the world, and always when they happen, it feels like that, right? Because we as business owners take that upon ourselves and we feel that, and even not as business owners, Craig is an employee of WOW, and he's taken it what I feel like is too hard. So, but that's okay. That's Craig. He takes it very seriously, and people are important to him. Yeah. So what we're going to discuss today, and I'll let you tell the story, Craig, but there was a couple mishaps that happened in Craig's week this week. Yep. And they happen to everyone. They do. I think I shared with you guys the account that I lost. It lost us $250,000. And that was like a very low moment for me. It was terrible. The great thing was it's 2 years later, we onboarded her in a call this morning. Just before this podcast, I hopped on. I said, hello.
Awesome.
I said, hey, I have a 9:45. I just wanted to say hello, introduce you to the team that's going to onboard you. So good can come from bad. And that is one of the things to focus on today. And you can really show your customer service by how you react. You have a choice when something bad happens. You always have a choice of what you're going to do. And making the right choice can be key in you actually coming out on top in the end.
Yeah.
So Craig, you had a busy week.
It was a busy week. It's been a busy month in the market that I serve, and I'm very grateful for that. Had a good number of shoots, and I take a lot of pride in providing really good customer service to people, going above and beyond, because I want to create raving fans of WOW Video Tours, right? And build that loyalty and build that relationship. And so I try to take very good care of people. But I'm a human being and I make mistakes. And so I had two major mistakes that I made this week that, like Todd said, I'm being hard on myself, but it's because I don't like to fail. I mean, nobody likes to fail, but I really, really don't like to fail. Especially when it's something as simple as writing something down on your calendar so you don't miss a meeting. And that's what happened this week in event number 1, Todd. So I'll just lay this out here. We've talked in the past about sponsoring events as you're trying to build your business, the importance of sponsoring events, building community, supporting the real estate community and industry. And we sponsored an event in my market, one of many sponsors, paid to be at that event, paid to have, recognition with logo placement and things like that. And part of that was also having a booth at this summit event. It was a realtor summit for a brokerage where you can set up your booth and engage with the realtors that are there. It's a great networking opportunity. We did it last year. It was a fantastic event. They really talked us up, and we have a great relationship with this brokerage, and in particular the lead broker. Well, I live and die by my calendar. And I've told my wife this: if it's not on the calendar, it does not exist in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I had set up this sponsorship. I was committed to coming to it. And somehow I failed to put it on my calendar. There any number of excuses of why that's not the important part, and that's really not relevant. The fact is I forgot to write it down and put it on my calendar. So the day came and went, and I had a couple of appointments that I shot. It wasn't like it was a complete loss. We still had appointments that I shot. But I got home and I was uploading my media to our editing team, and I was also checking Facebook and saw that one of the realtors that I have a great relationship with that is at this brokerage posted about the summit, about the event that happened that day. And it was one of those deer in the headlights moments, Todd.
Yeah.
And my stomach just dropped. And I got sick to my stomach when I realized I wasn't at this sponsored event that we paid money to be at. To me, very, very unprofessional. And I will just say that I dropped the ball. Immediately called my immediate supervisor and said what I did, because I really believe in taking responsibility for your action. Just own the mistake. Don't make excuses. Don't beat around the bush. Just own it, deal with it. Make good on it however you can, offer what you can, because integrity is important to me. And I'm not going to try and misrepresent why I missed it. It was just a complete failure on my part. So, talk through it with Chris, and he, suggested some things. I made a call to the broker that same day, got his voicemail, and left him a profuse apology for my failure to not be there as one of the sponsors of the events, and let him know, this wasn't intentional. I failed to put it on my calendar, and I just made it clear to him about my failure. I said, anything we can do to make up, I want to make sure we continue to take great care of you and invest in the relationship. If there's an opportunity to come speak with your team at a different event, or anything I can do to make good on this, I'll do. So didn't hear from him for a day. And, I've just been stewing on this, Todd. So this morning before the podcast, I reached out again because I want to talk to him live. I want to have the actual conversation, man to man, and again, take responsibility, apologize, make sure the relationship's good, do what I can to salvage what I did. And this broker, I've got a decent relationship with him just because of time and taking care of him in the past and doing good work for him. And he's like, Craig, things happen. He didn't even skip a beat, Todd. There wasn't an edge to his voice. It was a soft response. It was a graceful response. And he's like, things happen, totally understand. I said, well, I wanted you to know it wasn't intentional. I value the relationship. I want to make sure we're taking good care of you. He goes, I know you do, Craig. There's no doubt, or something like that. That not an exact quote, but Todd, you can listen to the call if you want. But he's like, don't worry about it. And I mean, it felt good. I still am really disappointed in myself. But I wanted to make sure that I took steps to admit the mistake, take full ownership of it. And if he was upset, what can we do to make this right? Because we value working with you. We don't take that for granted. We know he's got 4 other choices of companies and individuals that he could work with and promote. So I want to make sure that I do everything I can to provide the best customer service I can, despite a failure. Yeah. So what ended up happening was I'm actually was going to be shooting a listing for him today, a pretty decent listing. But as we talked about at the beginning of the episode, Todd, it's gray here. It was foggy. It's kind of dreary, and this property is on the river, so they want great views. It's an expensive listing. I said, Ivan, let's reschedule it just so we can get the best media that we can. Normally if it's rescheduling the same day, there's a rescheduling fee. Don't even worry about that. I'm taking care of this. And I'm also going to make sure that we do some luxury editing on the windows so that you have blue skies out the windows in the photos and not plain boring gray skies, because we don't include that automatically. And he's like, great, thank you. Perfect. Just go ahead and talk to my assistant, get it rescheduled, and we're good to go. So it could have gone a different way where he could have been upset for a couple of different reasons. Todd, I don't want to dominate the conversation, but what are you thinking right now? What are questions you might have for me or points that you want to make?
Well, the thing that I want to point out, and this isn't so much a learned behavior, maybe just for me, maybe for you all it is, but sometimes when bad things happen, we just want to crawl into a hole. That's kind of what the first instinct is. Like, oh, something bad happened. I don't even want to talk to the person. I just want to be sad that something happened. Y'all, there's no time to be sad something happened when you own a business. When you are, even if you don't own a business, just in life, there's no reason. There is something about making up for what took place in your reaction. And just like Craig said, first instinct he had was, I'm going to own up to this thing. Called his supervisor.
My first reaction was I was sick to my stomach.
Yeah, true. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see you guys ask this question a lot online, and this appears in various different formats of, I see one of my clients used a competitor. I have a client who hasn't paid an invoice, X, Y, and Z of those questions. I forgot to go to an event. What do I do? You just call that person, literally. And I know I give that answer every single time. And the older I get, the more I just try to keep life simple. If there's something that I've done and I can't sleep or I have that sick feeling, I need to go tell that person. In Craig's case, he had a fabulous relationship, and this owner gave him some grace, which is fabulous. In the case I mentioned earlier in the podcast, where my situation was a little different, that owner was understanding and was almost like, hey, I know things happen. She just happened to make a different decision because of the mistake that I made. So, and you can't be mad at someone then. Like, I was fully prepared. Craig was fully prepared to have this owner say, hey, we never want to talk to you again. Yeah. And what we would have done is we would have said, okay, this is unfortunate. Bad things happen. And what are we going to do to make up for it? And as a business, you have to be prepared to walk that path, take it head on, and then whatever the decision is, deal with it. Just a quick little story of where I'm teaching my boys at home. So I think I've mentioned this before. I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old boy, and I have a girl as well, and she's younger. But we talk a lot about communication and how they communicate with each other. So Boston's 12, Grant's 10. For those of you that have a sibling that's a year or two older or younger, and if you're the same sex, there's competition. Even if you're boy and girl, like, there's some competition. And if you're the oldest, you're always the first one that gets everything, and you always get to experience everything first. And you're probably the favorite as seen by the middle or seen by the youngest. And if you're the youngest, the oldest sees it as you have it so much easier and you get everything. And I help them manage those thoughts in their head. And we talk about this a lot of how they interact with each other. And there was a situation about a week ago where they just didn't communicate very well. And one of them said to the other, like, hey, I'm sorry. And he didn't want to say sorry, but he said it, which was great. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's like, all right, I'm sorry. And the other was not accepting that apology. And now that's a whole other conversation. But if you give an apology and the other side doesn't accept it, that's out of your hands.
Right. You can't control that.
You can't control it. And you shouldn't focus on that. You should do everything you can. You should make it right, but you shouldn't focus on what you can't control. There is so much that we cannot control in 2025 and years beyond, that if we try to start focusing on those things, you are going to just burn out. You're going to be out of gas. You're going to burn out. You're going to hate your business. You're going to hate your job. You're going to hate your family. You're going to hate whatever it is. Focus on what you can control, and whatever happens outside of that, you just have to live with. And if it was not the reaction you want, as in my case, you have to, apologize one more time. That's what I did. I kept in contact. I made sure that person knew that they were important to me. And don't count on anything, because I don't think that's a great way to live life. I think you do it without counting on anything. And that reduces back, Craig, and you tell me if you think differently, but that servant mentality that we talk about so much on this podcast, that you serve your clients and you don't expect anything. And when you need something, Craig has served this broker for a very long time, and he hasn't expected anything. And you know what the broker gave? Some grace when Craig actually really needed it. So serve without expectations. It's not easy to do. It's not something that my brain is programmed with. My brain is typically, what can I give and how can I get more back? And as I realize that that's not a great way to live over the years, you serve people and you're happy because you get to serve them, and that's your payback.
Yeah. I think for me, Todd, too, it's, the serving without expecting back and not taking anything for granted. That part is easy for me. I've learned over the years how to then also own mistakes, and not that that's ever easy, but it's gotten easier, where that's just part of my core values is living a life of integrity to the best of my ability. Own your mistakes where you can, or my challenge is forgiving myself. So when you say do what you can't control that person's response to your apology or your sincere effort to make things right. Yeah, you can't control that, but what you can control, and I'm preaching at myself right now, guys. What I can control is how I treat myself. I can't control how that client is going to treat me, even after my effort to make things good, but I can control how I treat myself. And it's gotten to be a little bit of a joke here, on our team, with Steve and Chris and myself, and Todd, about how bad I beat myself up. But again, I don't like to fail, but I have to learn to forgive myself. If I never learn how to forgive myself, I'm just going to continue to beat myself up and have absolutely no confidence in myself as a person. Not that you ever want to be cocky, but people will sense a lack of confidence. So if I'm trying to develop business here in my market, but I have zero confidence in myself, people are going to pick up on that and they're not going to want to work with me. Now, again, it's not that you are cocky when you go into a presentation or when you talk about what you do, but I can truly say I love what I do. But if I have zero confidence, that's not going to come across. I don't think you actually can love what you do unless you do have some confidence. And thankfully, I've gotten some good feedback from people that they like working with me. They like the product and service that we provide as a company. And so it's built over the years. So I have to learn to continue to forgive myself and realize, I'm going to screw up from time to time. It's going to happen. I learn what I can from that situation, pick up and continue to move forward and just continue to try and serve people well, do my best. And that's all you can do, as an owner, as an employee, no matter where you are in life.
Yeah. Craig, let's take this from a slightly different perspective and dimension of the conversation. And one, I truly appreciate you sharing that. I know how we talked about this off air a little bit. I can see it in your face. I can tell in your emotions. Like, thank you for being open with us. I really appreciate that.
I don't know about you, Todd, but sometimes when I listen to podcasts and speakers of any sort, what you see a lot of times is just a very successful, polished person. And you don't always hear about the struggles that people have. I just want to be real with people. We know more and more people are listening. And I don't think we can develop a really good community and relationships with those that we're in the same industry with unless there's some transparency and vulnerability. I don't have to share all my dirty laundry with you guys, but we make mistakes. So how can we learn from those mistakes? How can we share what we've learned with others? Because you're going to make mistakes as well. I can't live with any amount of pride. I know myself too well. So,
yeah. Well, I do appreciate that transparency and sharing. From a different perspective here, let's look at this as from an owner to employee, a photographer, an admin perspective. So that's our relationship, Craig and I. Now, right. Craig doesn't report to me. He's got a great team with Chris and Steve. Ultimately, I own the company, so I am ultimate. And so let's talk about from that perspective as to employee versus employer or direct report. As you grow your company, your employees are going to screw things up. and you screwed things up too. So you got to realize that. One, I think for me, it took me a lot of years to get through my thick skull. I was like, I never screwed anything up. You people come in here. Why is everybody screwing everything up? When in return, I was really just the biggest screw up. But that's a whole nother therapy session for me and someone else. So what happens when there is something not favorable that happens and it's from one of your employees? Well, one, I think you need to make sure that that individual understands that it was a gap. It was not great. There's been times I know in the past that, wow, where I'm like, why are they doing that? Why is an employee doing something? And they don't know that that's wrong to do. They haven't been taught that. The training was maybe lacking. Maybe we used to do it a different way and they're on the old way and not the new way. And maybe it's just a slip of mind. So first off, you need to make sure that you bring this, and you as the owner need to communicate it to your employees when someone's not doing something that you want them to do. Remember, this is your business. It's all in your brain. Just because it's in your brain doesn't mean it's in someone else's brain. You know, the example of booking a sponsorship at an event and then that person that's supposed to be there not showing up, don't assume that they assume they should show up. Now, you're going to be like, wait a minute. Yeah, Craig, I saw you. Yeah, you're like, well, wait a minute, Todd, you're really not that intelligent. Like, what do you mean?
No, that's not what I was saying. That's not what I was saying.
I'm okay. I'm not. I think I know a lot. So you guys hear me out on this one. But I've done it the wrong way. I'm telling you, I've done this in the past. If you come to them and you're like, why didn't you make that event? And you come at them harsh. If I would have gone to Craig with that, Craig would be in the dumps for the next 3 months over this.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like Craig is already hard enough on himself. So you need to just be like, if you need to clarify something very easy, don't come at them with anger in your heart. You need to come from a place of love all the time in your heart. And that was very hard for me to understand. It took me a lot of years to understand that you don't ever need to respond with anger in your heart. Man, I get angry quick. I got a temper, y'all. I always have something to say. I always have a response. My 12-year-old got it. I was talking to my wife about it. Actually, all the kids got it. They all got it. Like, they have something to say immediately. They got it from me. I'm sorry, Jessica. That's my wife. I'm sorry. Even though, and this is funny, last night when she's like, hey, that's you, as in me coming out, and them like, no, it's not. You always have something to say. So there, I'm just admitting it. I always had something to say about her saying I had something to say. That doesn't even make sense anymore. So let me try to bring this back together.
Welcome to Spiro Confessions.
Holy cow. Yeah. But when something bad happens as the owner, you need to not get angry, come from love, and take it as a point that they didn't do it intentionally. Your first instinct is going to be, why is Craig trying to sabotage my company? No, that's not the case. Don't ever assume. That might happen, y'all. I like to think people are good in nature, and good people, if you've hired them and they've been on your team for a long time, they want to do good for you. They do. And you naysayers can call me whatever you want to call me, but I would rather live my life thinking people are here to do good than thinking everybody's out to get me. I just don't want to live that life. And I'll just leave it at that. That's my choice. So when that happens, you need to come from a place of love in your heart and just get those feelings out, and ask them, so what do you think we should do? What would be the best way to respond to this? Craig had the answer. He knew what to do. He executed it. He took care of it. So as an employer, your people are not going to do everything you want. They're going to make some mistakes. Some are going to be costly. Some are not. You just need to make sure that you are capitalizing on those mistakes. And I'll give a verbal that we use here, and we use at WOW. We call it wearing a badge of failure. And I have a ton of them, but I've learned from them. We always ask the question. It's a very cliche question in an interview, but it's important. Do you think mistakes are good or bad? Just to get that mindset. Is a mistake good or bad? Mistakes will help you understand how you can come out on top, how you can grow your business. So make sure you talk to your employees when something happens. Bring it to them. Don't assume that they've done what they should do. You need to talk about it. You need to document it if it's necessary. We didn't feel it's necessary in Craig's case. We had a different case with an employee here this week or in the past that we were like, yeah, we probably need to document this. What document is, we just felt we didn't feel it was to the level that we needed to formally write something out on a disciplinary sheet. We have a formal write-up where we do that. We put it on their record. All we did in this case is we sent an email. The email was sent. The manager was CC'd, and we documented it. And that's important because people want to know your feedback. One more thing I'll leave you with, Craig, and then we can go to the high points of the second story, because I think there's a couple things to learn in there, is that your employees want you to be happy. And what I mean by that is it's always in the back of their head, is what I'm doing, does Todd like that? Or is Steve happy with that? And as a business owner, at least for me, I didn't always understand that, because you're all programmed a little bit differently. At least I am. And if you are heavy in times of these gaps of a screw up time, you are going to handcuff your employees, and they are going to feel like they're going to be paralyzed by trying to make the decision that will make you happy. And them trying to make the decision that's going to make you happy versus making the correct decision are two different things. And sometimes one's good and one's bad. And the one of making you happy isn't always good, because they're paralyzed by the idea of trying to think about what do you want them to do versus what should they just do because you trust them. I trust Craig fully. I trust Craig to always take care of our clients. I trust him. Whatever he says, I'm like, I trust you, Craig. We align with that. We're good. I have a full trust in him. And if you don't have that full trust in your employees, build those relationships, train a little bit more, but you have to get it to a point that that employee feels empowered, that they can make their own decisions. And if you don't, what's going to happen, because we felt it at WOW at our company, you are going to begin to have a pinch point in your growth. And I saw this a few years ago at WOW when everybody was trying to make the decision that Todd would have made. And Todd tried to pull himself out of the business a little bit, and everybody was in gridlock because they're like, oh, what does Todd want us to do? It's like, no, wait a minute. I trust you guys. You make the decision that's good for you. And I would rather be on the reactive end, that if that doesn't come out the way you anticipate, if you want my help in trying to make up for that and fill that gap, come and get me. But I've screwed up a ton here. I expect that you're going to screw up as well. None of us like mistakes, but when they happen, let's just work really hard to fix them so it aligns with our core values.
What I'll say in response to that, Todd, is I think there's a little nuance to that of wanting to make your owner or manager or whoever happy. There's two ways of wanting to make your owner or leader happy. One is you want to make them happy out of fear when you don't have a healthy culture in the organization or in the company because of that heavy-handedness that you talked about. So there's making happy out of fear or paralysis, or when you make it a safe space to screw up, not on a continual basis. Obviously, you don't want to get into that pattern, but if you make it safe and allow for mistakes, people, I think I like to think that people are good natured as well. Overall, they'll feel a little bit more safe in owning up to their mistakes. and thinking through, how can I not do this again? Because they trust you as a leader, because you made it safe for them to screw up and you gave grace. Now, again, there's always accountability, obviously. And I've learned to take accountability for things. That's how I'm wired. But when you make it a safe culture, to allow for mistakes and for allowing people to be human, they're going to have bad days, and building that relationship. We talk about relationships all the time with clients, with employees. It all hinges on that. I think you'll find that most reasonable people will own up to things easier and want to learn from those things and get better. So I think the motivation is different on wanting to make an owner happy. One out of fear, one out of grace.
Yeah. I think that's an important aspect to understand. And I think it's a tough question to potentially ask yourself. Like, are my employees, do they fear me, or do they have respect for me and they feel confident in sharing with me?
All right. Well, that was fun.
Well, thanks for sharing, Craig.
I did say at the beginning there was 2 situations. We're kind of getting close on time here. We don't want to make the episode too long. Do we want to dive into it, or it's kind of a similar situation where?
No, I think. I don't think we need to go into the particulars. I can't. Yeah, whatever that word is. At the end of the day, I'll booknote it here, Craig, for us. Craig was on a shoot. It was for a buddy of mine. He doesn't own a real estate media company. He owns a company that refurbishes very large buildings. He was asked to do something a little bit different with the drone, as to where he was trying to take close up of some brickwork, because this is the way they are actually giving out quotes to their clients, is they use our drone images to actually see what needs refurbished and redone. And this was a different shoot. Craig was on site with the project manager, and simple to do. You're up in with eaves and chimneys and things like that, and you hit a chimney and the drone goes down.
Yeah,
I mean, that's such is life. Not great. Nobody loves to lose a drone, but it's just what happens. It happens all the time. Not all the time, but of course here. But
not all the time.
Not for you, but it's not uncommon that once a quarter we're like, oh, that person lost that drone. Okay, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah. And again, the drone was unrecoverable. And I had a shoot before that one that also had drone. So I had no media for my clients yesterday. So again, take care of things right away. I called my first client immediately and said, here's what happened. I don't have your media. I can't get it until tomorrow at the earliest, but we will be on this. Is that going to be acceptable to you? How can we make this up? He's like, actually, I don't need it right away. He didn't even have a signed contract with his potential seller. So he was just trying to get ahead.
That's a whole nother problem.
Right. He always pays his bills. So I wasn't worried about that, but he's like, no, don't worry about it, Craig. Just whenever you can get back out there, that's great. But again, get ahead of things, own things immediately. And if you've built the relationship and you've built the trust, you're going to 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the grace. So all of this to say, own your mistakes. Don't beat around the bush. Don't make excuses. Address it immediately. I'd rather address it immediately and not stew on it as bad through the night and not sleep that next 3 nights.
Yeah.
Than to just take care of it right away. And then,
well, you make it that much worse for yourself if you do. Calling them immediately, almost every client's going to respect that. If you wait a day, 2 days, and that client's hey, where are my drone photos? You're like, oh, by the way, I don't have them. You are going to just make the situation far worse.
Oh yeah. So, all right. Hopefully
I have one more. I'm sorry, Craig. Just one more quick little point here. And this is just something to think about as your company scales. So Craig, you lost a drone. You have one drone, right? What do we do from a company perspective? What did you do in that case? And just from a logistical standpoint?
Yeah. So the office has a spare drone, and I believe in each of our markets, we also have a spare drone in case something like this happens. And our office is about an hour from where I live, so it's not unreasonable for me to go drive down there. So I actually drove down there yesterday afternoon, picked up the spare. I'm ready to shoot today if need be, though looking at the weather, probably not going to happen today, but I'm going to shoot it tomorrow, the jobs that I need to. So just being prepared with backup equipment to be able to respond to your clients right away when you do make a mistake. If God forbid you lose a drone. So yeah, I was thankful that the office had something, gear wise to back up so that I could take care of our clients right away.
Yeah. And that's something that aligns with our core values. And I keep going back to these because they're so important, but clients are our number one priority. So much the fact that we know that it takes a day or 2 or 3 to get equipment. And we want to keep that. We've taken the investment on to keep that equipment. In fact, he picked up a drone that was new in the box. It was sealed. He took the cellophane off of it. Number 3 core value is we are family. We know it's not great to lose a drone. Craig's not happy about losing the drone. So how can we better support him? But like, hey, we've got something for you right now. And then we work out, do you get a new one? Do you not get a new one? Do you replace this one? But figure out what your core values are, align with those, and that will really keep you pointed, and that will keep your whole organization connected and aligned and empowered. And then you will be able to begin to remove yourself as the business owner, but you have to set all that first. Well, Craig, thank you for sharing. I know that was a lot to share. And at the end of the day, Craig told me these 2 things. I was like, that's it. Okay, we're going to be great, Craig. Like that's it. Like, pending how if your employee's not hard on themselves and it's not don't be like, oh, that's all you did. Okay. In my case, it was strategic, and I don't think it was that big of a deal, either of those cases, but I needed to make sure Craig knew it wasn't that big of a deal to me because he's so hard on himself. So, like at the end of the day, we're great. It's Friday. We got a great week, and we had great numbers in January, and we are off to the races.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the grace. I'll publicly say that. Thank you to Steve and Chris for their support. They've gotten to the point they start to tease me. Chris called me back that same day that I had to confess what happened with the sponsorship. He said, I was going to give you some crap about it when I called you back, but I thought, no, I already know Craig's beating himself up. Now, if it had been Steve, I would have done it to Steve. So I appreciate the relationship I have with our supervisors and their grace as well. And so yeah, you can take a loss and turn it into a win. Build the relationship with your clients, and owners, as Todd said, make it a safe space, and your employees will run through a brick wall for you as well. I would do that for Todd, for Steve, for Chris, because they've allowed me the grace to make a mistake here and there and learn from it and grow and keep moving forward to do the best that I can. So culture is hugely important in your business. You can make mistakes into wins. That's the biggest takeaway we can say for you. Yeah.
Great summary, Craig. I agree 100%.
All righty. Well, Todd, thanks for discussing this week. And
thanks for sharing.
We'll be back next week. I think we're going to cover some calendar type things and go into some time tracking a little bit deeper. I think
we're going to help you organize your time so that you're going to hit your goals in 25. So that's what I'm excited about. So that'll be on next week.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys learned some good things here. Make sure you take a breath. I'm going to get off here and I'm going to take a breath and move forward in my day, but make sure you're thankful for the blessings in your life. And thanks for listening and thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate you so much. Have a great week.
Thank you for joining us for the Spiro Podcast, Managing Your Real Estate Photography and Videography Business. This is a production of Spiro and Wow Video Tours. You can find out more about Spiro's real estate media business management software at our website, spiro.media.